All right, everybody, it looks like Iran is not backing down and the world is on notice that the president is going to continue to fight and push back. But what does that mean for the rest of us? And does it look like we are entering into a global war? Because it seems like other countries are getting involved, including Britain, and now missiles are flying towards Iran, and it's not from the U.S. But we'll get back to you on that when we come right back.
We pray for love and unity, and that the church would find new zeal and commitment to the mission and purpose of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
You're a liar! You're a liar!
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart.
Well, it's that time again, ladies and gentlemen, for the Political Pulpit. I'm your host, Josh Navarrete, and it's so good to be back here on the program. It's a heavy news day because more is happening with the war against Iran, the fight for the nuclear weapons, and to continue on their battle towards defeating the U.S. That's not going to happen because we have the greatest country, the greatest military, and a solid administration that's not going to let that happen. But there's a lot to look at, a lot to discuss and uncover, and why this is important to you and I, to all our faith leaders, faith believers, and God, gospel preachers. It's still important to pay attention because it's what's happening in our world, and prophecy speaks to us all about these things. But anyway, before we get started, hit that like, share, and subscribe button as soon as you get on, and just so that you can let everybody know that you're watching, and let us know where you're watching from. Get in the comments and let us know where you're from. Visit us at www.politicalpulpit.com for all your news and unfiltered news. We get that news and report it directly to you, of course, from a biblical worldview. And then, of course, to all our partners, thank you so much for joining the fight early on and getting behind this movement as we keep everybody up to speed and up to date based on prophecy, based on biblical principles, and just bridging that gap between politics and religion. That's that dirty word, politics, that nobody wants in their church house. However, it's important to know that if you don't get involved in politics at some degree, even in your ministry, it's going to be involved in you at some point. We'll discuss that at a different time, but today's about what's happening in the world, what's happening in the news, and what's happening in Iran. Did I cover everything? Yes, I did. All right, let us know where you're watching from. Jump in the comments and let us know where you're from. All right, let's get to the first clip. As they start loading that up, it looks like there has been a lot of movement when it comes to the Middle East. And if you look at America, it's this growing trend of Jews are bad. Israel is bad. They shouldn't be our ally. Tucker, Candace, even Alex Jones, who continuously kisses the ring of President Trump when he needs help and then fires back when Trump is silent and doesn't seem to pay any attention to Alex Jones. But that's for another story. This clip here says the NYPD is now investigating a stabbing as a possible hate crime after two men, one Asian, one Jewish, were injured in what witnesses describe as an unprovoked attack. Victims and witnesses say the 51-year-old attacker yelled, "Allahu Akbar." We all know that phrase during the stabbings, and the NYPD commissioner is suggesting mental health may have been a factor. Of course they are. Well, first of all, that ideology is a mental problem and a spiritual problem. But I predict, and we all know it, we're going to see a whole lot more of this in the future because these people, like we said in yesterday's show, have a theology and ideology. They believe that they must kill infidels, and it's an honor to die so that they can go to heaven and see their 70 wives or virgins or whatever they think or believe. And here's an example of that. Go ahead and play it.
The NYPD is now investigating a stabbing attack as a possible hate crime. Two men, one Asian, the other Jewish, were injured in what's being described as an unprovoked attack. Witnesses and victims report that 51-year-old attacker yelled, "Allahu Akbar," which means God is great in Arabic. That was the yelling during the stabbings. The NYPD commissioner suggests mental health may have been a factor in the incidents. The NYPD.
All right, so there you have it. We are basically in a situation where these people have this belief that they can hurt anybody and attack anybody. It is a mental health problem. Is it a situation? It's a problem where they are getting ready to start activating their cells. They're going to start activating their groups, militias of people attacking Americans and everybody in between. Let us know if you can hear okay and if you're getting any situations like echoes or anything. We'll work through it throughout the show. But anyway, the point is this. They're continually fighting. They are ready. They're being instructed from the East. And Iran is like marching around their streets and showing images of our president in a coffin. That's a problem. They are not going to quit. We're hearing that they want to negotiate, but is it true? Are they wanting to negotiate, or are they dragging this out because it doesn't matter to them? They'll fight. Iran specifically is receiving funds, is receiving munition, is receiving help from other countries. That will be uncovered as this goes on. But when does the fight stop? Will it stop? Let's go ahead and play the next clip. This is a battle within. They're using AI to run these campaigns, and they drive the message home. Take a look at this video from Stephen Hill, I believe it is.
No, please don't do this. You don't have to do this. Please, I just want to be able to afford a tank of gas so I can drive to work and feed my family.
You just want some gas.
You can have all the gas you want, but first you must defeat the California machine.
Please, I have young kids. All I'm asking for is a reasonable cost of living, nothing else.
The machine doesn't give a damn about you and your family.
Uh-oh. Another wildfire.
Please don't do this to me. I'm a nurse. Me and my husband just want to buy a home together.
A home? In this economy?
Everyone can own a home, but only once they get past the machine.
Enough is enough. You shouldn't have to fight for your life just to fill your tank, keep the lights on, and put a roof over your family's head. We don't have to live like this. Enough is enough. 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 Enough is enough.
So the same guy that did the campaign videos for Pratt is the same guy that is doing it for Stephen Hilton. And these are driving it home. It makes more sense. Matter of fact, did you guys see the interview? I'm not sure we have any of these clips. I didn't put them in today. Of Elon Musk, where he's talking about common sense, where the interview was trying to blame a far-right radical ideology when he's just saying, no, it's just common sense. People want to stop crime, murder, rape, secure the borders, and be fiscally, financially responsible with our tax dollars. That's considered a radical right ideology, by the way. So that these messaging, I love these videos because, first of all, AI is becoming absolutely crazy. Where videos like that in the past would be millions of dollars, a huge budget, but now you got this marketer, this guy who can prompt AI to make these videos, and they're actually pretty awesome. So the point is this: that more and more people are going to be running on these principles, and I think these are winning principles. You have to stay away from the media because they're going to call you crazy. They're going to call you radical. They're going to make you believe that, people like Elon Musk are crazy. He even goes on to say, I don't care that they don't like me. Look what they don't like me for. I don't know. Do you have something queued up? Just play one of them. Let's see. Benny Johnson says, just called out mass Muslim migration destroying Western civilization. If people come with antithetical views, I'm against that. I'm against rape and murder, against imposing rules contrary to the West. It's a crying shame the media, like you, don't recognize this. Let's play that.
Anti-Muslim?
I'm against having if people are coming to a country with antithetical views. I am against that. I'm against that. You know, I'm against I'm against rape and murder. I'm against the imposition of rules and laws that are contrary to what we've come to accept in the West. And I think it's a crying shame that the sort of traditional media, like you, don't recognize this.
Why should you be able to shape European politics? You don't even live there.
I think of it as the sort of the West collectively.
But do you see why this makes people think that this man who has all this power, he's the world's richest man, he thinks he has a right to influence our politics? It makes people, it's why, we started this conversation saying superlatives. It's why people loathe you. I mean, some people do loathe you.
Yes, some people do.
But do you understand why? Do you think what you're doing is helpful for Western democracy?
Maybe some people do loathe me. And that's probably true. I don't care. But the fact that, as you pointed out, 250 million people follow me is that I think a lot more people actually like me than don't. And I think a lot more people hate you and the media more than you realize.
Thank God we have somebody that's willing to use logic and talk sense into someone, that calls themselves a reporter and is basically trying. So what she's doing, she's trying to pin him against being not agreeing with Islam or Muslims or being anti-Muslim. And really what he's saying is, I'm against any ideology that's anti-Western civilization. That's all he's saying. And it's a shame that people like her and the media, whom people still listen to and agree with, are there spewing lies. All right, so the president had a press conference today and some executive orders that were done. Today, he says that the reporter asked him, "You are talking about blowing up civilian power plants and bridges. Much of the civilized world would consider that a war crime. Do you?" And Trump says, "I won't respond to that question. Who are you with?" And of course, he's from the New York Times. But the question is this. The question is, you're blowing up civilian power plants and bridges. It's the way they phrase it, making it seem like he's going after civilians. Iran just killed Americans. But that's all they care about. Somehow the media loves Iran. They hate Trump so much, they'll defend Iran. That's how crazy these people are. Roll it.
I have a question about Iran. You're talking about blowing up civilian power plants and bridges. Much of the civilized world would consider that a war crime. Do you?
I won't respond to that question. Who you with?
The New York Times.
I figured so. Failing New York Times. Yeah, please.
Failing New York Times. They're despicable. By the way, they're all mad because they're not receiving government funds anymore. So they're downsizing, and they can't get anybody good enough to answer a decent question in the Oval Office. So it doesn't warrant, or they shouldn't be granted an answer from the president. So the president is writing in Truth Social today, and he's got some words for the European Union, which is a disgrace anyway. He goes on to say this: the European Union is at it again, and as usual, taking direct aim at great American companies. After having fined Apple for no reason at all, $15 million, Meta, $3 billion, Amazon $2.5 billion, and many others. We have just been informed that Google, a truly advanced and amazing group, has been fined yet another $1 billion. This illegal and highly discriminatory practice started at these high levels during the first year of the sleepy Joe Biden administration, but it's not going to continue during the Trump administration. The United States of America is not a piggy bank for Europe, nor will we allow it to be. Please let this truth serve to represent that we will immediately initiate a 301 investigation into the practice of robbing American companies and, in turn, the American taxpayer. The European Union will pay a very big price for this illegal and highly unethical conduct, which I have consistently warned them about. The penalties will be entirely reversed, and we anticipate a substantial tariff to be placed on them at the earliest possible moment. Stay tuned. President Donald J. Trump. Now, the biggest fear of the left is that their wonderful and beautiful large companies that they thought were woke and on their side gets defended and helped and assisted by President Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, even tariff the nations that tax these companies. Now, as they begin to gain power, what does this mean for the president's influence? I'm telling you guys, as he gains influence and does business with nations, with countries, and unifies people, more power, more authority for the United States. But that does not come without a fight. We have to continue to pray for our nation because it starts with Iran. Because that's the fight that we're in right now. That's what we're talking about today. There are things that are happening that could initiate a greater conflict in the financial sector, in the data center, AI sector, technology, and then, of course, the battlefield. The worst thing that we could see happen is boots on the ground. The moment we see boots on the ground, then we know things are getting real. And I want to get to that in a little bit because the president has just did something today that's going to expand our nuclear power and influence and infrastructure. And it was because of the Green New Deal and all those things that were, the climate globalists, climate activists and the globalists were trying to protect the soil, supposedly, but putting windmills in oceans and whatnot. That's all changed today. All right, let's go on to the next clip that you guys have loaded up for me. Oh gosh, this guy from a bedside, something must be wrong. Now, some Democrats are waking up and saying, let's just give in to the voter ID thing. Just in, Democrats are shocked after even Dem strategist James Carville just said the party must surrender on the issue of voter ID. He says, we're not going to win the war against ID. Every poll shows 75% or better say we need ID to vote. Just quit fighting it. Go along with it and move on to the next thing. This is brutal. Let's play the clip here. By the way, I don't know why he's in bed. He must be sick, but he's not sick enough to take an interview with CNN, I believe.
We are not going to win the war against some kind of ID. Every poll shows 75 or better say we should have some kind of an ID to vote. Some say, I don't know what it is, but just quit fighting and go along with it and move to the next thing.
Is that a tufted headboard? Is James Carville in bed?
Yes.
Is he okay? Democrat strategist James Carville is telling his party to give up the fight over voter ID, and apparently he does it right before he falls asleep. He's arguing it's terrible. It's a terrible hill to die on, Democrats. And this is the Dems are pushing back against the Save America Act. New Fox polling shows voters overwhelmingly support ID requirements for when you vote. Roughly 8 in 10 said photo ID should be required to prove U.S. citizenship.
We are not going to win the war against.
All right. So even I think I saw a clip today or some sort of story that even Olive Garden requires an ID for all you can eat lunch. So surely you can provide an ID to vote. All right, next. President Trump says 4 companies have now met his administration's deadline to develop privately funded advanced nuclear reactors, calling it the first time in more than 4 decades that new reactor designs are moving forward in the U.S. He says a process that once took 6 years or more has been dramatically accelerated, adding that the U.S. is now leading the world in next-generation nuclear power. America's building again. America's dreaming again. This is great news, I think, for when it comes to energy. Nuclear power is our best source of energy. A lot of these power grids that are antiquated, they're out of date, especially in Texas. They are constantly under duress, and there's rolling blackouts. We haven't had any in Arizona, I don't think, but it is a big deal, especially when it gets 115 degrees or 110 plus for 10 days in a row. There needs to be more, as they continue to build, there needs to be more generators or nuclear power plants. Now, is this a move to also have nuclear weapons and advanced nuclear weapons? Is this not just about energy for citizens and power for data centers and other things like that? What could be going on? I already told you yesterday that a lot of these manufacturers that are creating weapons and missiles, they're literally on high demand right now. We know workers that are there now doing overtime because missiles are being developed, built, drones. I mean, they're flying out of these plants every day and being shipped overseas. What is going on that we don't know? What are we seeing that looks like it's just, we're going to allow more nuclear reactors throughout the country? Or is this a way that we're going to build more nuclear weapons because we might need them? Who knows? Next. CNN is fully triggered this morning. Trump tells Axios he's considering a massive attack on Iran bigger than anything before. Of course, CNN's reaction is bring on a Democrat congressman to call it an illegal war of choice. Blame Trump for an entire conflict. Claim Americans hate it as much as Vietnam and demand Republicans cut funding. The same network that spent years soft pedaling Iran's aggression is now acting like the sky is falling because Trump won't beg for a deal. Iran is still launching attacks now against countries that are assisting us. Those countries are now responding. This is why I keep saying, is this a bigger deal? Is it expanding bigger than we would hope? They're still rejecting terms, and CNN's biggest concern is that Trump might actually finish the job. Peak cable news. Who watches cable news? If you're in the comments and you still watch cable news, let us know. And I want to know why. All right, play it.
A new deal, as Iran is refuting reports that it rejected a ceasefire proposal from the United States, though clearly there is no deal right now. Also breaking, the FDA says it's identified a new outbreak of the parasite that causes severe explosive diarrhea. What it means for the general public, with some 1,600 cases confirmed since May. And in today's edition of Welcome to Florida, a deputy who just moved down from the Northeast gets his first go later.
Scrub through really quick. Let's see what else is in there. Okay. War in Iran. Play it there.
New York Times is reporting that Iran rejected a U.S. offer for a new truce, though Iranian state media says that's not exactly true. Either way, the fighting is still very much on. Iran says it targeted U.S. military bases in multiple countries across the Middle East, while U.S. Central Command says it carried out new strikes on Iranian military targets. According to Iranian state media, at least 4 people were killed. Now, this has been going on every night for nearly 2 weeks straight now. President Trump told Axios he's considering a, quote, massive attack on Iran. Again, another quote here, bigger than ever before.
Good.
We're doing very well against the Islamic Republic of Iran. We're doing extremely well. They would like to do something, but I say they're not ready yet. They need more of the same.
Pause. Imagine, I just thought about this, Islamic Republic. Imagine if it was like the Christian United States of America. This is the difference between Christianity and that particular movement, is that it's everything for them. Now, Christianity is everything for us, but there's God gives us a choice on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And in the United States of America, you have a choice on whom you will serve. You don't have to be a Christian, but we are a Christian nation. But that's the difference between these people will die in the name of Islam. And they believe that anybody that's not is considered an infidel should die. That's all they're concerned about. Even after the attacks, even after taking out their supreme leader, they still shout, "Death to America." They're showing, there's this picture that's going through their media right now of the president in a coffin. Imagine if we were doing that. I believe that we could take out all their leadership right now, but we have to be strategic and take down certain points, certain launching points to weaken their military. And of course, it would be billions and billions of dollars more to really wipe it out. And there's civilians there. We don't want to hurt innocent people. In fact, by taking out these leaders and these tyrants who are killing their own people, young people are being hung in the streets because they speak against the government. Imagine all the blue-haired and green-haired and red-haired demons that are running around the United States right now, holding up Palestinian flags with thongs and foxtails hanging out their backs. They could never do that in these countries. They would be killed in the streets. They would be stoned to death. They would be dragged and made an example of in the streets of Iran. But you got crazies, because the freedom of speech and the liberties that we have in the United States, running the streets of these crazy cities that have no law and no order to do whatever they want and not worry about getting arrested and not worried about getting killed for what they believe. That's the difference. So it's crazy to watch CNN angle things and angle stories against the United States and for these other countries. All right, go ahead and play the rest of it.
Sarah?
All right, thank you so much, John. Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Johnny Olszewski of Maryland. He serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Thank you for being here this morning. Let's, of course, start with Iran. It says it didn't outright reject a deal, but to be clear, there is no peace deal signed here, no ceasefire deal. The president says he's now considering a massive attack. I mean, what would you propose President Trump do when there is no sign of a ceasefire?
Well, we're not doing
so
well.
So just pause it and leave it there.
Yes.
Don't change the screen. But look how that last chyron, they call it, the little headline at the bottom, the way it was phrased, that Iran denies that they didn't agree to a ceasefire. Can you scrub back? It was like 2 seconds before. It just changed. Right there. It says, Iran state media denies report Tehran rejected U.S. ceasefire deal, making it seem like the United States is lying. It could say anything, but they choose wording and messaging that makes it look like the president and the United States don't know what they're doing. You had Hillary Clinton running for president saying if she's president, she will attack Iran. But then you have Barack Hussein Obama sending them billions of dollars. And now you got CNN that continually writes reports and headlines that are for and just angled a certain way to keep you upset, to keep you mad and motivated and emotional. All right, next one. All right, go ahead and play a little bit of this.
Well, we're not
sure
doing
how much
well,
I
as
can
the
last
president suggests, and we are in a mess that he created. The president has consistently refused to level with Congress and the American people about this war of choice, this illegal war of choice, and he clearly doesn't care about the impact it's having on Americans, the lives lost of our service members. He doesn't care about the price you're paying at the pump. He doesn't care about the grocery costs. He doesn't care about the tens of billions of dollars he's spending. So for me, we have to try to get a deal done. Unfortunately, the president ripped up JCPOA, an imperfect deal, But he's the reason we're in this war. He's chosen this war, and he has to come up with a plan and level with Congress and the American people about how we get out of it.
For the second time, Democrats, as well as a handful of Republicans, managed to pass a war powers resolution rebuking the president to remove U.S. forces from hostilities with Iran. I mean, do you think the U.S. should just end their bombardments even without a deal at this point?
Yeah, what's happening is we're at this juncture where the two choices are, in terms of Trump's world, is either going to escalate, and I don't know if that means taking out civilian infrastructure or boots on the ground. And I think all these choices are potentially devastating for American interests. It's why Americans overwhelmingly disapprove of this war. It's as unpopular as Vietnam and the Iraq War. I fear we're sliding into an endless war. And, I'm reminded of the saying that all it takes for terrible things to happen is for good people to stay silent. So I applaud those couple of Republicans who stood up and voted for the war powers resolution just earlier this week. But what I want to see is more action from Republicans in the Senate. There was no courage in the Senate when we passed it out of the House. And we should be looking at things like withholding the funding if the president insists on moving forward without being clear. He's a pathological liar. He's lied about this war. He's lied about all sorts of things. But we need some courageous Republicans in Congress to step up and help us end this madness.
All right. I do want to turn to some domestic.
Pause it. No, speaking of liars, he's the liar. He's from Maryland, guys. Of course, they're all liars over there. All right, next. Must watch. The architect of Trump's Abraham Accord says decapitation strikes could come next. The president understands exactly what has to be done to finish the job. Saudi nuclear pact sends a clear message. Their days are over. All right, roll it.
Assets are pouring into theater, and it's clear the president understands exactly what has to be done to finish the job. That's what I expect. It means an escalation to finish what remains of the Iranian capacity to ensure they can't present a threat to navigation and to U.S. interests, and certainly not develop a nuclear weapon.
So all the targets that still remain, they're definitely going to get destroyed. And do you imagine more decapitation strikes?
It's certainly possible. It's interesting, that speech where Arakchi, the foreign minister, talked about an eye for an eye that the president responded to was the same one where he talked about crawling out of the rubble of the strike that killed the supreme leader. So, yes, there's more decapitation that could be in the offing, but I'm not sure it's required. Really, it's just the capability and capacity to threaten shipping and to launch retaliatory strikes like the ballistic missile that hit our troops and killed 4 in Jordan over the weekend.
And we're positioned to take on the Houthis as well in the Red Sea?
Yeah, we are. A year ago, of course, actually about 18 months ago, they were launching strikes up to 12 a day. The president ordered a strike against their infrastructure, put a stop to it. The Houthis know exactly what time it is, and I suspect that they're unlikely to escalate further. But if they do, the U.S. military is capable of handling it without a doubt.
And what's he working with this Saudi nuclear pact?
Well, look, it's telling that he's making that announcement now while we're in conflict with Iran. And he's saying essentially to the region that while I'm doing this, I'm also preparing the region for what happens afterwards. And that's building on the foundation that he established in the first administration in the form of the Abraham Accords. And he's laying the foundations for that with Saudi Arabia, which is absolutely critical. And in doing so, it's a clear message to the Iranian mullahs that their day is over and that the Accords, the United States, Israel, and our partners and allies in the region are what follows. And that foundation is being built by the master builder as we speak.
How are the Israelis going to take that? The Saudis having a nuclear program?
Yeah. Well, they're not going to like it. That's for sure. But there's something I want to point to in Daniel chapter 2, verse 41. It's the final kingdoms before God's kingdom. Daniel saw something. He saw several kingdoms that were weakened and strengthened. And it was something that was, wow, that's not the scripture. Daniel chapter 2, verse 41. Whereas you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, yet the strength of the iron shall be in it, just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. In the days of these kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So here's the point. We're watching alliances happen as the president has moved forward with this mission. Alliances are happening. There are some strong and there are some weak. Daniel's describing a world that would become increasingly fractured. We have a strong nation. And you could even point that scripture to AI. It's almost like technology and humans are mixing. And there's this race to win the technology war. There's this race to gain dominance over the world. And even America will bow to Christ in the last days. We don't know exactly the role of America. We have an idea. I suggest that you guys lean into End Time Ministries to find out more about that. We've had them on the show a few times. But I'm here to tell you that as kingdoms rise, kingdoms will fall, but there's only one kingdom that will reign forever, and that's the kingdom of Jesus Christ. So we are seeing more and more happen that's going to shock the world. And the fight's not over. I do hope that this particular battle is won and everybody comes home. There are Americans that are overseas that are at risk now. Iran has proven that they can send missiles to U.S. bases and hurt Americans. 4 people died over the weekend, guys. 4 people have died, 4 Americans. And so there is going to be a head for an eye. I think that's the terminology, meaning we're not just going to do an eye for an eye. We're going to take a head for an eye. We're going to go hard every time you hurt an American. And I can't agree more. Now, let the Dems and Republicans fight over it on Capitol Hill, but the job needs to be completed. I think the worst thing we can do is just say, whoops, we're all done now, and they go back to life as usual, and they control the Strait of Hormuz and make alliances with our enemies and gain nuclear power. That would be a mistake. All right, let's cue up the next clip. Katie Hobbs. Who put this one in here? I did. She's such a liar, you guys. This woman, if you're not watching from Arizona and you want to know about Arizona politics, somehow Maricopa County managed to count votes, end an election on election night, and count them for a month later. Count ballots a whole entire month later. And there are ballot drops just happening like crazy. And I can't prove it. It's just my opinion. I saw it from very close to a lot of people that work closely to this. And just weird stuff was going on. And so it's so weird that our president will say no tax on tips and will fight for it in the Arizona legislature, and she'll veto it 3 times. It gets passed, and then she's standing in front of a Mexican restaurant pandering and saying, guess what, guys? These people are going to save money because now there's no tax on tips, as if it was her policy. She's such a liar. Tyler Boyer says, Katie Hobbs vetoed a no tax on tips 3 times, and the Republican legislator got it done in the Republican budget. She was forced to sign this, and now she's touting it like it was her policy. She would have stopped it again if she wasn't forced in a more conservative budget by the Republicans. Plus Andy Biggs, by the way, who will defeat her and become the next Arizona governor. We all need to get behind him. Let's play this nonsensical, ridiculous, gross video. And she's reading too.
We eliminated taxes on tips so that service workers, like the guys here at Chili Pepper and Yuma, can keep every dollar they earn through tips. As families struggle with high costs because of Washington's misguided policies, I'm working to put more money in Arizonans' pockets, and we did just that with my 4th bipartisan balanced budget that cut taxes for hardworking families. No tax on tips. Here in Arizona, we eliminated taxes on tips so that service workers, like the guys here at Chili Pepper and Yuma,
It's
can keep
replaying.
every dollar they earn through tips.
I can't stand it any
As
longer.
families struggle.
That's all she's good for is 23 seconds, by the way. She couldn't get anything else out. Like, have you seen her speak on the news? She'll go to a news station and just take a, I can't even say what I want to say because it's terrible. How she's governor, it just blows my mind. She didn't do any of, she's not going to debate Andy Biggs. I'll tell you that right now. Don't expect a debate because she will lose miserably. All right, let's go back to the president. Just now, President Trump is ramping up the replacement of illegal truck drivers with veterans. Any Americans who's driven a heavy truck for our military will automatically be eligible for a driver's license. God bless our veterans. I'm not sure. I mean, you would think I guess it's probably a CDL license. First of all, how do immigrants without paperwork get a CDL license in the first place? Do you think that would be a no-brainer? Anyways, play it.
We're going to replace them with proud American veterans. We're going to take our veterans, we're going to teach them a lot about driving trucks. And in many cases, they know. We're going to say any American who's driven a heavy truck for our military will automatically be eligible for a commercial driver's license. So we're going to get them taken care of.
Yeah, CDL.
And the radical left is very much opposed to that, but it doesn't matter what they want because we're the ones that are running. We're going to replace them with
Just
proud.
seems like it's common sense. You would think it's a no-brainer. This is how it should work. Apparently, we have to have the president sign an executive order to get that done because if you leave it to a lot of these policymakers, they just mess it up. Next. Oh, speaking of common sense, you have a Democrat who speaks more sense than half of them. I think he actually left the Democratic Party, to be fair. Senator John Fetterman says Zoran Mamdani to fix a pothole. That's his job, to fix potholes and balance the budget, and he can't even do that. So he blasted the NYC mayoral candidate for weighing in on foreign policy. Okay, he wasn't a candidate. He's the mayor now, but let's listen to what he says.
And when now you have
What's happening?
You can fix a pothole, you can take out the trash, but you can't order people to arrest anybody any more than I could, or I could have him arrested if he goes to Pennsylvania. It's a joke, and he's a clown. And now he also said that Netanyahu is not welcome in New York. And you can't say that any more than I could say, Mayor, you're not welcome in Pennsylvania. So sit down, you're a clown, and you are just going to pander to the fringe, and that's part of your base. And I know you're angry at Netanyahu because he killed a lot of people you admire, whether like at Sinwar or Nasrallah or El Khamenei in Iran. That's the guy that will only criticize the prime minister or Israel, but he never criticizes Hamas. He's never criticizing Hezbollah or Iran. I've never heard the mayor say and condemn Iran for killing 40,000 of its young people just asking for democracy in their nation.
That's all you need to hear because that's the truth. And he doesn't condemn any of the atrocities that his belief community commits against innocent people. Never does. And he's anti-American, he's anti-Constitution and our Christian values. And he also wants to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, because they can't stand the Jews. Let's be honest. He wants to say that he's guilty or tried or convicted. He can't do anything. He's just a mouthpiece to the radical left. That's all he is. They propped him up. He should be careful because they may make him a martyr one day. That would be terrible. Nobody wants to see anybody die, but that's just how these things go. It's almost predictable. I think there was a prophet or somebody that was saying the same thing. I don't consider myself a prophet, but we can always timestamp this one and go back to it. All right, next. My prediction, speaking of prophecies, Ted Cruz, AOC will run for president, and Zoran Mondani will replace Chuck Schumer in the Senate. Some Republicans are cheering that our opponents are crazy. It's kind of a good point. Play it.
I think she'll run for president. I don't think she will run for Senate, but I'm going to make a prediction for you, Sean. My prediction is Comrade Mondani will be the next Democrat senator from New York, that Mondani will replace Schumer. I think Mondani is the single most powerful Democrat in the country. And I got to say, by the way, there are some Republicans that are celebrating. This is great. Our opponents are crazy. That's going to help us. I want to say for the record, I'm not celebrating. I think this is bad for the country. I think this is unhealthy. I want to see two normal parties that are not filled with crazy people who can actually do something reasonable and who actually love the country. Okay, if a Democrat likes some higher taxes and higher regulations, I don't like that. But could we start with the premise that you love America? I think she'll run for president.
What a crazy idea. How about two Americans that love this country, just have different views and different ways of getting there, come to the table and have a discussion and a debate and an election? But instead, we've got ridiculous radicals that are democratic socialists. And it's known. It's no longer Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and we're going to wish that Bernie Sanders was back in the fold. We're going to wish that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were back, because what's coming is way worse. And if Republicans, at least Republicans and other, we need more Christians involved. Let's get some pastors to run from office. Let's get some good Christian, wholesome people to run for office, because what's coming is another battle that we haven't even discussed. All right, next. How many more do we got? Oh, we're loaded. All right, let's keep going. Steve Hilton just dropped a banger campaign ad defeating the California Democrat machine. So good. Absolute cinema. Yeah, this is the guy that creates these. He's got another one. Let's watch it.
As long as the machine rules California, nothing will ever change.
The homelessness problem continues to worsen in California.
Gas prices in the state have reached a record high. Another local favorite has closed down in Santa Monica.
Things have just gotten so expensive. I don't know if we can continue living here. We just want someone, anyone, to hear us.
Okay, we've got to figure out this governor thing. I'd do it forever, but it's my turn to be president. Bring in the machine.
The Democratic nominee is Javier Becerra.
The Biden guy who lost all those kids?
Can't be right. Run it again.
Becerra, welcome. The machine picked you.
The machine?
Thing we created to make sure nothing ever changes. As long as you submit to the machine, you don't have to do anything.
Nothing? I can do that.
I believe all the things that Newsom believed. 4 more years. 4 more years.
So, what do you think? It went well?
That was worse than.
Who else is tired of the highest taxes in the country, the highest gas prices in the country, the worst homelessness in the country? This is our state, not the machines. That's what we're fighting for.
Your taxes are going up. Do not resist.
Nobody's ever stood up to the machine before.
Time to take California back.
Can we get Swalwell back? Run it again.
That was good. That was like a whole cinema. For reals, that was awesome. That's the point. They're up against the machine. We all are. It's a globalist machine that tries to plan out our day, literally, and our elections, and who's running, and who's going to speak, and who you're going to listen to. We have to fight back, and I love that ad because we have to fight against the machine and take back this country. And California deserves another chance at life because it's a miserable place to be. What a beautiful state being ruined by crazies on the left. All right, next. This is the speech that should terrify every American. Senator Tim Shea just dropped the most brutal, unfiltered truth about Iran you'll ever hear. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has been hunting us, vaporizing Marines, skinning Americans alive on camera, cutting our troops in half with EFPs, and celebrating every death. They don't care who you voted for. They don't care where you live. They want every single one of us raped, burned, and cut into pieces. This isn't politics. This is a death cult that has been at war with Americans since 1979. And we've been pretending otherwise. Watch the full speech every single second, then share it because the regime that did this to our brothers is still standing. Iran has never paid the real price, and it's time they do. Roll it.
The senator from Montana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday, we saw the President of the United States and many others at Dover Air Force Base presiding over a ceremony that is very sacred to those of us who served, and that is a dignified return of remains from the war zone. And that process happens beginning in the war zone through Dover to the hometown of our fallen heroes. I participated in many of those ceremonies myself, to include carrying friends of mine off the plane. One of those is on this bracelet. He was cut in half by an Iranian EFP. This regime that we are fighting does not care about our partisan politics. They don't care who you voted for, who you pray to, or where you live. They want to kill all of us. And they don't just say it, they actually do it. And they've been doing it for 47 years. This is a war of choice. The Democrats are correct. It's a war of choice that was begun by a radical, lunatic band of terrorists that took over a beautiful nation 47 years ago. Took it over with brutality, force, and savagery. And the second they took it over, they didn't free their people. They didn't unleash the largest oil reserves in the world to build schools and bridges. They took it over to murder their own people and to spread their disgusting ideology across the world. And that is exactly what they have been doing.
All right,
they don't just say it and talk about it.
So that's all you need to hear, because that's the truth. They have tremendous amounts of wealth, been sent billions of dollars to that country from America just to do one thing, and to have dominance, nuclear dominance. That's all they care about. And where are they getting that technology from anyway? I'm sure that'll be uncovered. I'm sure we already know, and you could probably guess from where. I want to go really quick to Daniel chapter 7, verse 23. It's about nations and global power. And there's a tie-in here from Daniel's vision. He goes on, so what happens here is Daniel describes a powerful world kingdom developing. He says, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on earth, which shall be different from all other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it in pieces. The 10 horns are 10 kings, who shall arise from this kingdom, and another shall rise after them. He shall be different from the first ones, and shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and law. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time and times and a half a time. So we could really dissect that and get into, we might have to have Dave Robbins to really uncover that. But the point is that there are coalitions building, whether it be military coalitions, international institutions, global political influence. Daniel is reminding us that human governments will continue to consolidate power, but every earthly kingdom remains temporary. Iran was trying to gain as much power as fast as possible to try to control the Strait of Hormuz, the oil and financial sector, to become more powerful in the nuclear department. Let's go to Ezekiel 38, chapter 5, verse 6 through 6. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya are with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all its troops, the house of Togarmah from the far north and all its troops, many people are with you. Persia is the modern day Iran. See, Ezekiel foresaw something and knew that Iran would be part of a future coalition. Now, there's Christians that disagree about exactly where this prophecy is fulfilled, but it's good to note this, that Iran continues to be one of the most strategically significant nations in biblical prophecy. So regardless of where you stand in prophecy, this war is important. This is a big deal. This is why we keep leaning into the conversation of a greater war to happen. Are we there? Do you think there's a greater war? Do you think it's happening? I want to take a pause here really quick and remind you to go to www.politicalpulpit.com/partner and find out how to partner with us. We have to get the message out. We have to get the word out in this manner. We have to use scripture to identify what's happening in the world today. And there are plenty of shows that you can go to. There are plenty of podcasts that you can view or listen to. But we believe we have a message that is important for the world today and a message that must be heard. And with our partners, we're able to do so. And we want to thank you for joining us. All of our partners, thank you so much. Of course, you can get the news from www.politicalpulpit.com. That's unfiltered news from a biblical worldview. And then, of course, hit that like, subscribe button, and the notification bell. Only 10% of our subscribers get notified when we go live or upload content. So it's important that you become that 10%. And then, of course, wherever you're watching us from, even if you don't like what we're saying, jump in the comments and let us know what you think. All right, let's cue up the next clip. We have Bahrain and Kuwait reportedly secretly joined the war against Iran. This is what we were talking about earlier. Now they're upset, striking military depots with intelligence and air cover from the UAE. This just happened a couple hours ago. This is overnight for them. This is a big deal. Trump says the entire White House team is involved in the Iran negotiations right now. When asked who's leading, he replied sort of everybody, because it's a big deal. We're talking right now and we'll see what comes of it. Despite what everyone says about the election, I am not in a hurry. We have to do it right. So everybody that claims the president's a tyrant and a dictator, the entire administration is involved. All right, next. Moments ago, President Trump on Truth Social, Iran has taken some shots at unrelated nations with respect to the shipment movement. Project Freedom, including a South Korean cargo ship. Now they're going after South Korean cargo ships. Perhaps it's time for South Korea to come in and join the mission. We've shot down 7 small boats, or as they like to call them, fast boats. It's all they have left. Other than the South Korean ship, there have been, at this moment, no damage going through the strait. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane, will have a news conference tomorrow morning. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald Trump. This is actively happening now. They're just targeting anything. It's almost like you got pirates hanging around, throwing rocks at big ships at a big price. Next. Former Navy SEAL Sean Ryan told Tucker something the media won't touch. Now, this is leaning in towards these guys. Sell out, and that's all you need to know. Ryan says his buddies and the tier 1 and 2 operators, he knows, all see it the same way. They all see it the same way. Everybody knows they're fighting for Israel. It's a joke. They know it's not for us. We're not defending our country. Tucker then asked, and you think they know that? And Ryan says, I don't know. They know that. I know they know that. These guys, they make millions of dollars, like staring at each other, probably playing footsies under the table. That's what they do. They're disgusting because they think that you shouldn't have allies and we shouldn't defend our allies. Like, yes, we're defending Israel because they're an ally, just like we send money to other countries and defend those countries. But it's all anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, anti-Jew rhetoric as they play footsies. Let's try to play some of it. What's going on? No audio. I don't have audio here. Do you guys have audio? All right, anyways, maybe that's by design. Make sure audio's turned on when you play it. And the other thing is they won't talk to you about the importance of having allies, as if we should just be this isolated country and not defend anybody. But they won't break down any other nation that we're doing things for. They won't tell you that. They won't sit there and say, you know, oh, well, did you hear that we're defending Bangladesh? That we're allies with, I don't know, other countries? They won't. But it's all anti-Israel. It's all anti-Jew. All right, let's try to do another clip. Let's see if we got audio. It's probably by design we didn't play Tucker. Thank God. Under Obama, Iran seized 10 American sailors on January 12, 2016, forced them to their knees, and broadcast the humiliation worldwide. This is Iran for you guys. Under Obama, the next day after their release, Secretary of State John Kerry publicly thanked Iranian authorities for the cooperation and quick response, framing the episode as a success of diplomacy. I'm telling you, they're crazy on the left. 5 days later, $400 million in cash pallets arrived in Tehran as the first installment of $1.7 billion payout, timed with the JCPOA nuclear deal and the release of other American prisoners. They held them ransom and they won. And you got people like CNN defending Iran and angling news stories against the president. Obama responded to the capture of U.S. service members with gratitude and cash. Iran received the propaganda victory, the money, and a clear signal that there would be no real consequences. Contrast those actions with that of President Trump, who designates the IRGC a terrorist organization because that's who and what they are, targets its leadership, and refuses to reward aggression with payments or praise. That's not diplomacy, what Hussein Obama did. Or John Kerry. That's bending the knee to the enemy. Let's see if we got audio. Play it. No audio. Strange. You guys changed something there on accident. So we're not live? Okay, well, let's keep going. Next. The Marcos takeover of the Democratic Party is no laughing matter. Communism brings poverty, death, and destruction to every country it touches. All right, let's try to play this. That's Senator Bernie Sanders to say that Nicaragua government is primarily a socialist government. Ortega's an impressive guy. Mamdani saying, we will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism. But I remember, for some reason, rather than being very excited when Fidel Castro failed. These guys, we're going to wish this guy was back. I mean, he's still hanging around. But when he's gone, we're going to wish. We're going to wish. Are you guys getting clip audio? No clip audio. All right. Well, it shows that it's muted on here. Okay. All right, guys, that's all we have time for today. I want to thank you guys for joining us on the Political Pulpit. Remember to like and share. Hit the subscribe button. If you're watching us at any point, where you're watching us live, please jump in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. You can join us on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram at times we go live, and of course, OSN.TV. You want to sign up there because you got not only this show, but you have other great shows like End Time from End Time Ministries and so on. And we are going to distribute as far as wide as possible. Thank you so much for joining us. Y'all have been amazing, and we're going to keep plugging away. There's a lot of work to be done. We got 2 more years of this administration, and it's going to matter who's in the House, who's in the Senate, what happens with this war. Is it World War III? Will we wake up tomorrow on a weekend in a deeper and greater war? I sure hope not. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us, and thank you for being a part of the Political Pulpit. We'll see you next time. God bless.